Well, hello and good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to be doing a little tutorial on the PMDG 737. There seems to have been some interest in a cold dark start tutorial, how to get this thing working, Simbrief integration, and a number of the other things that go right along with a bunch of the ability to fly this. So we are out here in the UK. We are at Doncaster Field, EGCN, just sitting here at one of the ramps, and we are going to go ahead and get ready to do this tutorial. So we are going to jump back into the aircraft, right into the cockpit, and here we are. So this plane is not really that hard. It really isn't. So one of the first things we do, and this isn't an FAA checklist, but this is going to be what I do when I get ready to fly. So we'll jump into the cockpit, and the first thing we're going to do, we're going to come right up here to the main battery switch. We're going to turn that on, which is going to give us enough power to get this thing where we can start doing some of the stuff in here. So we've got the power on. We're going to come down here to the flight computer. In the flight computer, we're going to come to the menu. We are going to come to FS Actions, Ground Services, and we're going to get ground power hooked up. While we're waiting for the ground power to connect and get everything going, which really doesn't take long, but I like to do stuff in between so I'm not sitting and waiting. We're going to come over here to the tablet. We're going to go back out here for a second. We're going to click on the EFB, the electronic flight bag. Request the data from Simbrief. So one of the things that I do is I use Simbrief to do my stuff. And you'll see on here the Simbrief. We come in here to the Simbrief. We do our entire tutorial, or not a tutorial, we do our entire flight plan in here. We fill out all the information. We generate the flight plan. When you get that done, you can see I just got this one done. And this will have all the information of where we're going to go, the route, everything that's going on with it. And then the great thing is if you've got Navigraph as well. Now, Simbrief is free. If you've got Navigraph, you can also pull your charts up here. And your charts have, again, your whole route. And you can use your SIDS and stars in here and the whole 9 yards. So great tool to be able to help and does a lot for getting where you want to be on some of this stuff. So what we're going to do, we've requested the flight plan from Simbrief. You would have had to have logged into Simbrief with your Simbrief ID. We'll get our departure weather, and there's no METAR here because this is actually closed. So we'll do that. We're good to go on that. By now, you can see down here the ground power is connected. So we'll come back up to the top, to the upper up here. And this ground power switch, we're going to kick it on, which kicks even more stuff on. Everything's going to start to come alive. Awesome. We can come up here to our panel, switch brightness, which gives us a little bit of illumination on there and differentiation. Now that we've got ground power on, this right here, we are going to illuminate. This is our emergency lights. We'll do that. Kick on our seat belts. Okay, both of those get turned on. We'll have those on, and while we're up here, we're going to go way up top. This is our IRS alignment. This is what gives us all of our ability to see where we're at and what we're doing. 2 clicks takes us over to navigation. Left one, right one. Oops, that was 3 clicks. There's 2 clicks. So they're on, they're aligning. They're going to be doing what they need to do, okay? In a little bit, we're going to come up here and switch this, but right now we're on ground power. We can close the cap on our power supply. That's good. Now we're good to sit here for a minute and be able to do some of the stuff that we need to do. As you can see, a lot more of our stuff has come alive. We'll get out of this menu. Out of this menu again, down here on the FMC. Click FMC. We're going to go to our position initialization. Position initialization. We are at EGCN. For our reference airport, you type it in, it comes up down here, and then you click the soft key right next to it, inputs it. This number is the number we want. We're going to click this right side soft key. It's going to copy that number, and we're going to paste it right here. Now you see more stuff has started to activate, okay? So that's good on that. Now we're going to head to route. In route, it's saved our EGCN down here. We're simply going to click on origin. Our destination today we are going over to Copenhagen, Denmark, EKCH. So we're going to EKCH. And we're going to click this soft key up here to put it in there. Now, because we've got the Simbrief integration, you can also do this with just the downloader for the PMDG flight plans too, it'll have it in the folder right there. But we're going to use the Simbrief one today. We'll click on that. Come down here. We'll set the payload, set the fuel. Now that sets all your payload and your fuel levels according to what you had in your flight plan. Okay. Easy peasy. Then we're going to come over here to this soft key, select route. So here's our route. This is where we're starting. This is where we're going. This is our flight number. We are just going to click flight plan request. That's going to communicate with the Simbrief servers. That's going to be able to pull in our flight plan, load it into that FMC, and start to get everything ready to go. And as you can see right here, route uplink ready. We're going to click this soft key for load. It's going to take a second to load it. And it's already loaded in. You'll see some changes again. We're going to click the right soft key next to activate. And then we're going to come down here to execute. Okay. That puts our flight plan in. There's still some other things we need to do. Okay. Now we're going to come down in here to our performance initialization. And this is the next step. Again, this pulls this all from the Simbrief planner, which still automatically generates it for you. So now we're in the performance initialization. You see we've got performance initialization request. We're going to click that soft key and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to import the information from Simbrief from our flight plan. And in a second, it's going to load everything up. Now, we will need to get some other information. So we're going to come over here. We don't have data. One of the things that you can do, I use a website that's called METAR. METAR TAF and NOTAMs. Okay, and there it is. So if you don't have your, get the ad off of there. You don't have weather for wherever you're at. Again, I said I'm at Doncaster. Doncaster is closed. This is based off of real stuff. Now, they don't want you using it for real life flying, but here's Doncaster. Right here. There is a spot that's not too far from it. Sandtoft Field. Okay. We can come in here. We can look at this. It's close enough. It gets it from the same area. We can get the METAR and we can get the information that we need to make this correct. Okay. So we're going to be at 1025 hectopascals. We're going to have 4 knot wind coming out of 110 and it's 6C with some fog. Okay. So that's what we need for that. That'll be that information and we'll do that in a second. So again, we can click in here to get our weather because we're going to need to get some information out of this. So the wind is 110 at 4. Okay. The outside air temperature is 6 degrees. And the QNH, well, I've got this one set up because I usually fly in the US. So I'm going to do a quick conversion on this. It's 1025 hectopascals. And it's a real simple conversion. 1025 is 30.27. Now, if you're flying in the area, you should be using the correct stuff. This is all setting up to give us numbers for takeoff. So we're at EGCN. We're going to be taking off from runway 20. It automatically will import everything else. We can also, I always use flaps 5 for takeoff. It'll tell us our optimum rating for takeoff. We can pull in from the OFP and from the aircraft to get our center of gravity. And so we've got all the information we can calculate, and we will need these numbers in just a second, a number of these numbers. So we're going to come back down here. The performance init is done, loaded. We're going to load all of that information. So how much fuel did we plan? How much are we going to use? I always just keep that the same. So 16.1 tons of fuel, or pounds of fuel, 16.1 thousand pounds of fuel. We're good on that. That gives us what we need. Gives us, it automatically fills all the rest of the stuff out. So we're going to click execute. All of that stuff gets input in. Now we're going to go to arrivals and departures. So we're departing on runway 20, and we are actually using the Rogue 20 North for our departure. So that's this one right here, Rogue 20 North. It inputs our departure, and again, to activate everything, we click execute. Departure, we're going to come down here to arrival departure. We're going to do our arrival in. We are coming in on 04 left, ILS. Okay. We are going to be using the TUDL 3A for our star. And we will, I do believe CAS is the appropriate transition point. Yes, CAS is right over top of the airport. So this will be interesting. I'll get to show you a discontinuity. And okay, we've got all of that in. Arrivals, departures, we're good to go on that one. Now we will come back over to our performance init. We'll do our N1 limit. We need the temperature up here, the outside temperature. Okay. Actually, we need the cell temperature. So the cell temperature is right here. This is why we need to do this. So we get this number, 30C. All we have to type in is 30. That's good. It's telling us we want takeoff 2 for our rating. So takeoff 2 with flaps 5. So we're going to want takeoff 2. We'll hit the soft key right next to takeoff 2. Climb will be normal. We'll hit that. Then we'll go into takeoff speeds. Up here, we're going to fill out our flaps. Flap 5. Okay, we need our CG. 24.94. Same thing, 24.94. Click the soft key, it will copy it in. And the nice thing, it gives us all of our takeoff speeds. It gives us a V1, V-rotate, and V2, which is what it gets from over here. So we can just simply paste those in by clicking the soft key on the right next to it, and we're perfect. One last thing we want to check in this aircraft is we want to check our takeoff trim, 5.26. So we are going to want right down here, we are going to want to get this, we are going to want to get this to just right there at 5 1/4. Now you see that little arrow moving, bringing us down. We are going to scroll it down to 5.26, just over 5 1/4. That's what we want for our takeoff. Okay. That's given us all of our information from that. Today we are going to be cruising. Our altitude is going to be, I don't remember what I put it in as. Give me just 2 seconds here. Our altitude today is going to be 34,000 feet because this is not a long flight. So right in here at cruise, we are going to do FL340 and click this soft key right next to our cruise altitude. And again, to activate, because that will change some of your stuff. So it'll automatically put it in for you. Yes, the optimal is 37,900, but we're not going that high because we're not going that far. We've got that in, got that in, we've got that in, got our takeoff speeds in. Now it's going to ask us to verify our takeoff speeds again once we get started on some of this stuff. So we've got everything we need in here. We are going to kick this to legs. We're going to check for discontinuity. Everything's good here. There's our first discontinuity. The easiest way to deal with discontinuities in this flight plan is kick the soft key. Hit the soft key right next to the one underneath that. Copies it down here. And you're just going to paste it in there. Execute. Everything else is good. Everything else is good. Yeah. So these vectors, these do not like this in the 737. You will wind up, and that's what I said we'd have going into CAS there as we looked at that flight plan. To get rid of a vector, same thing like a discontinuity. Kick the one after it, come back, paste it right on that vector, and that will change everything right there. Excuse me. It'll update all your flight levels and everything. And everything else is good to go, right down to runway 04 left. Okay? So we are good to go on that one. Now we actually get to start the aircraft. So everything's good there. We are going to throw in our 5 degrees of flaps. That's already set and taken care of. Once we've got that started, now we're going to start our APU. Our initial climb out, we're going to, look like we're going to hit 6,000 for one of our initial, well, we'll go ahead and go right to 16,000 at RoGag. So we're going to click 16,000 in here. Get this where it needs to be. And again, the reason I like using these charts, we can put in our course and everything, just like you would do for the regular aircraft. So our airport elevation is 55. We're taking off from runway 20. Okay, the course is going to be 198, and again, we'll need to put the elevation in a second. I'll show you up top. Our course right here, we're going to set to 198, and we're going to do something specifically for a reason that you'll see when we get to the landing. We're going to put this in both sides. We're going to do the 198 course on pilot and co-pilot. 198, 16,000, and we're actually even going to change our heading just in case we need to do something with that. We're going to get that to 198. And we're going to hit our speed to, we'll be under 10,000 initially until we hit our auto throttle, which will take care of all that for us when we hit our autopilot. We're going to get this to 250. There's our 250. We are going to kick on our flight director, and there's another one on this side. Kick on our flight director. We're good to go on there. We're going to set our QNH, which will be here. 30.27, and you adjust that right up here. 30.27 is what we're going to get that to. Perfect. And as you can see, it lines right up with where we're at. And now we're going to start our APU. Over here in our startup, anti-collision light on. Okay. Left fuel, because that's what the APU runs off of, is the left fuel pumps. Up here, this is the APU packs. Okay. This allows the airflow to come through and do our APU packs. So we're going to do that. We are going to kick on our APU for one click. And then we're going to watch this gauge, this EGT gauge. There's our low pressure. When we get that light, now we can click this again and hold it down until it comes up on its own. You saw it just move. It's going to swing over here, and then it's going to come back and stabilize. Okay. While we're waiting for that to happen, to come back and stabilize, once we see it move, I'll change view for you a little bit. There it goes. We are going to come over here to the co-pilot side, change our view just a touch. Our cruising altitude, again today, we set our cruise altitude is 34,000. So we're going to set 34,000 on our cruise altitude. 34,000. And then again, for our arrival airport, we're going to come in and look at the same number on our airport landing. Twofold. This was two things that will get us set up for. So one, we'll get our airport elevation right up here, 17 feet. That's what we'll get looking at on there. We're also going to be landing at runway 04. So this gives us an idea of where we're going to exit. So we'll have a left exit off of the runway, come down, and we'll wind up parking down in here. Okay. Again, that's one of the great things here about Simbrief, and it's free. Simbrief itself is free to use. So our landing altitude is going to be, get down where you can see that, 55 feet. So we'll just keep it at, that's 50. Okay. And rather than trying to get it the correct way, we're just going to reset our camera position over here where we need to be. Our APU is started. We are going to come up here to the APU generator. We are going to kick both of these over, which will take us off of ground power and put us on the APU. Now we come back down to the FMC, and I'm sorry. These were, these were the ground power, APU power, and then we turned off the ground power up here. We do have to do one other thing in here. We're going to click menu, go back into our FS actions, go back to our ground services, and we're going to disconnect that ground power. That gives us the release from that. We're running on the APU now. We're going to come back one while we're in here. We're going to go ahead and close the cargo door, or the door they're pulling up over here. This staircase will stay here until you come down for your pushback right here. Set your parking brake. You can remove your chocks, and you will see this ramp start to pull away once everything's taken out of the way for you. There it goes. So we're good there. Back to the FMC. We are going to come over to this FMC because this is one of the requirements for takeoff configuration. We're going to hit our FMC, and we're going to come down here to the progress button and pull the progress. Okay. We are going to get ready to do our pushback. And our pushback again, if you've got Simbrief and Navigraph charts, this is actually a moving target that'll go with you. So we are taking off from runway 20. So we want to come over here with our nose pointed to the right. So what we're going to do is hit menu, Flight Sim Actions, Pushback, come to this push style, standard L, turn the nose to the right. If you're at an airport where you need to turn it to the left, you can do that. You can change that in there. It automatically, usually based on the airport you're at, will fill in your distance to the taxi line. But you can also change the degrees that you want in here. You just simply put in 45 if you want to go 45 degrees instead of 90. We're going to go ahead and do the 90 just because of the angle that we're at sitting here. Then we just come over here, select the tug. Tug's there. We're good on that aspect. The tug is actually underneath us. We're going to click start. Once we've started our pushback,
we've been cleared for pushback and start. They want the tail to our left.
It's going to tell us to disconnect the parking brake.
Ready for pushback, tail to the left. Release parking brake, please.
Parking brake's released. Now we can start our engines. I'm going to come over here to the right one. We're going to click it to the left to ground. We are going to watch this percentage right here. When it gets to 25%, we're going to flip this fuel lever. So that's the engine spooling up. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now we can add fuel. We'll watch the EGT rise. We'll watch the percentage rise. And we'll hear this will automatically click back to off. We do need to start our other fuel pumps. We've got a couple of things we need to do. We need to come up here to these 4 switches. This is our window heat. And these 2 down here are our pitot heaters. So we'll turn those all on. Those will be good to go on there. We're going to go ahead and cage our emergency lights. Okay. 19.7. And we have automatically kicked back over already. Okay. Same thing. Ground. Now we're going to watch this one. And when it hits 25%, we are going to go ahead and introduce our fuel. Again, this is the number down here in our secondary flight display. 25%. We add our fuel lever right here for engine 1. Going to watch our EGT rise, and we're going to watch our throttle rise. Okay. And it's pushed us all the way out into the grass. Here's a neat thing we can do. Just click stop. We're going to release the tug. Set the parking brake. It'll tell us. It should tell us. That engine started. Both engines are good. When it stabilizes here in a second, we're going to look at some stuff. We're done inside this menu, so we can click return, menu, FMC, and as I said, it'll tell us to verify our takeoff speeds. We're going to click N1, takeoff, and just verify 141, 142, and 147. Simple enough. Going to come back to legs. We're good to go on that. Now we're going to get everything else set up in here to start to taxi out to the runway. The few final things that you've got to do to make the airplane ready to go are pretty simple. So both engines are running. We are going to come back up over to this side. One, we're going to go to standby power on here. Okay? That's the first thing. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to kick over the engine powers so that we can take it off of APU. Right engine, left engine. We're going to hit our PAX switches, which are right here. One click down to auto. We're going to click our electrical generators on. That gets our engines where they need to be, running the airplane. This middle switch here, we're going to take that off. That's the APU bleed. We don't need that. Excuse me. And the last thing we need to do over here is we're going to shut off the APU. So that gets most everything set up there. We do have one more switch up here, the yaw damper. We'll kick that on. That light will kick off. That'll be all set to go. That should clear all of our warnings and stuff, making the aircraft ready to taxi out. That is a cold dark. In the very next tutorial, we're going to talk about getting it into takeoff configuration, which is very simple, and going for an actual flight. That's how you do a cold dark start on the PMDG 737 and get it done all in order. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.